Hello and welcome to the Final Shots podcast, the podcast about sports, movies, and everything in between. We're starting with a cold open today, not just because our sound was copyrighted, but also just to apologise to our kind and numerous listeners for the delay this month and a couple of months.
Yeah, we're trying to get back more on track, but today's a good start. We're actually recording, which is amazing.
What's your excuse, mate? What's the problem?
Well, I don't know. Well, finished my masters.
Hey!
And actually just started a new job, which is exciting. So I thought, why not add an extra stress and do a podcast on top of everything happening? But no, exciting times. It's a job to do stuff within sports data, which is exactly what I want. So hopefully
you are now actually an expert. You are now the sports expert.
That's expert is a very generous phrase, but I'll take it. I am the sports.
You're
expert.
A professional sports lad. Is that what we call it?
Is that the that's exactly what my LinkedIn says. Professional sports lad.
Professional sports lad.
And
I am professional online video gal.
Exactly.
Not quite movies, but we're getting there.
Not the best comic book movie, but you know. Okay, but let's give an update on since the last time we did a podcast, which was actually before the Euros.
Wow.
For those who follow the football, and good news
before the NBA playoffs as well.
Yes, good news and bad news. Tara, take it away.
Well, we learned that I was a traitor to my country.
Maybe you were smart about that. Maybe.
So, a long time ago, if you can think back, probably only like 2 episodes ago, but you know, a long time ago, I bet that Italy would win. And this was right at the beginning of the Euros. We didn't know how England was doing. And I put my money where my mouth was.
Yes. And for those who are not the most heavy football followers of the Euros.
Or who've just, forgotten because it's been a while.
Yeah. England sadly lost.
But England got to the final. England got to the final.
And it was a penalty shootout.
And I was the only one in this country. Well, no, I'm sure there were some Italians, but I was in the minority who were very happy.
Yeah.
Because I won how much was it? Like 40 quid?
Yeah, so you placed a bet a bit later, but we actually have record of Tara saying Italy as her dark horses.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't say necessarily, well, she said to win, but I think it was quite, it was a punt. She was just having an educated guess.
I think you underestimate how smart I am, James.
We clearly have 2 football experts on this podcast.
There we go. Unfortunately, my fortune telling ways was not as fruitful when it came to the NBA.
Yeah.
That was a sad night.
Yep, the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis did ultimately win his first ring.
If we got to lose, at least it was to that, because that was a pretty good story.
He's a really good man.
Yeah. I'm playing down how upset I was, though. It was pretty rough.
There's very rare... There's not many people who would not like Giannis. I can't think of many. Maybe I can think of one, but... a little in-joke there for whoever's listening. But no, Giannis, great story. He celebrated by getting 50 chicken tenders to celebrate his 50-point game to seal the title. So he's now in the age of, I think he's 27, has got an NBA championship, 2 MVPs, and a Defensive Player of the Year.
What a ledge.
What a ledge, exactly.
What a ledge.
Amazing.
Do you think he'll be getting his own Warner Brothers movie soon? Space Jam.
Wow. I have forgotten about that movie.
Yeah. I think it was... To be honest, I think it's quite unforgettable, to be honest.
Yes, that was true.
I wouldn't call it a forgettable movie.
Says, oh, really? I'm speechless once.
It takes a lot to stop you talking.
We'll get more into it, but let's talk about a bit of movies.
That's a movie, mate. That is a movie.
That is the perfect synergy.
It's the perfect segue, mate. This is what our
let's
thing
talk
was
about
created
Space Jam.
Okay, I know you don't want it.
Let's talk about Space Jam.
So there was a lot of hype. I think a lot of people didn't think it was going to be good.
Well, I guess the original Space Jam, which came out 90s, those people who watched that, who obviously would have been really excited, are now what, probably 30 and stuff, and there's no beating around the bush. Space Jam 2, or sorry, just movies that end in number 2 normally typically don't do well. So Space Jam: A New Legacy is definitely a kids movie, as is the first Space Jam one.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I
Jam
think it got a lot of hate. But I think it was pretty much the same. I think it was like enjoyable from a, I don't know. I didn't watch Space Jam as a kid. I only watched it recently. So I was like, oh yeah, these movies are both pretty good, as for a kid. The one thing I would say is just so long. It was really, really long. And I mean, LeBron, bless him.
Oh no, oh that's so mean.
I just there was just something not quite right there.
Well, LeBron is a very charismatic man.
Of course.
And so I actually had more hope.
Yeah.
I was like, great personality. He's a lot on social media.
I thought he'd be better than Jordan.
Yeah. And actually, I thought it would be miles better than Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan, especially being in this age of always having cameras in front of you. I mean, Michael Jordan had that. Let's not.
Yeah.
But, and I don't want to blame it on the script or anything. Let's just blame it on the acting. Maybe he didn't have enough to go by, but
yeah,
I think his acting was awful.
Yeah,
awful. Overacted.
I think it's the same. I think everyone else agreed with you. They were like, "Oh yeah, he'll be more charismatic because he is. If he just plays himself, he'll be fine." But he couldn't play himself. Was the issue there with Michael Jordan? He had pretty much nothing to do in that movie. He just played himself. There was no storyline. To be fair, there was a storyline with this movie, which did require a minimum level of acting, which I don't think was quite there. The kid was great. I like the kid.
Yeah. His son, we're talking about. But not his actual son. But what was weird is LeBron James was an actor playing LeBron James, but he couldn't be LeBron James. There's a bit too many levels there for me.
Too many levels.
Because if he was just LeBron, he would have been fine. But instead, he was an overacting, basically like playing a skit. It just was not great.
Do you know what? A lot of people said Don Cheadle saved it.
No.
But I completely disagree. I was like, I thought he would. Don Cheadle was a great actor. It was, in my opinion, at least in the first little monologue of his evil monologue thing, I was just like, come on. That, I think, tells me that wasn't an acting issue. That was a script issue. To give LeBron James benefit of that. If Don Cheadle can't do it, then why are we asking LeBron to do it?
So what I'd say about that is Don Cheadle, we can say, is a great actor. So I wouldn't fault him if he put in a bad performance. And personally, I would say his acting was over the top, a very kid-like villain, which is, like I said, this is a kid's movie. That's fine. But just for the adults out there, because we are adults,
And also, you don't need to, there's great kid movies where you don't, talk down to kids.
Exactly. You see stuff
I thought
like
Space Jam 1 was like that, a lot of people criticise Space Jam 1 for being kind of shitty, which, fair enough. But I don't think it was, patronising in the way this was. I don't know. I just didn't like it. There's a lot I liked about it. I thought it was an okay movie. I think I liked it more than the criticism. But it still wasn't good.
Well, I think a lot of the criticism was those people who did really like Space Jam growing up and then just, firstly probably don't like LeBron as well, relative to MJ. That plays a big part. With the Don Cheadle stuff, also, it does show maybe having your favourite actors in certain things does sway your opinion that way. I'm not saying people are blinded by their favourite actors, but that is a factor. Anyway, I didn't like his performance. Didn't particularly like anyone's performance. The cartoons were great, though. I enjoyed those.
Yeah, and I think, look, I don't want to say too much on this because it is very old news, but I would like just to end with saying I very much like Michael Jordan in it. He was brilliant. Absolutely.
Amazing. I didn't even think LeBron would get to that level of letting MJ be in his movie, but That was at least great. And actually, what I did like, which I
Just in
think,
case people haven't seen it, I think you need to explain, right?
no, I think treat yourself.
Watch the full, very long movie just to
After,
understand that one inside joke.
after you listen to this amazing podcast, obviously, go put Space Jam: A New Legacy on and find out for yourself.
Yeah.
But one thing I would say, and I think this was a criticism, but I actually personally liked it. But I guess it was a missed opportunity. Was the world building had so much potential, and I liked seeing a lot of the cameos. I think the criticism was that then it felt just like a big advert. They were just like shoehorning like Harry Potter, or I think was there Sonic? Maybe not Sonic, but like Iron Giant, all that type of stuff. A lot of their King Kong, those type of mascots in there, just to be like Warner Brothers flexing. We got these properties, you know.
I thought that was cool, though.
I thought it was really cool
the Harry
too.
Potter world was cool. That was my favourite part, that little montage of
Yeah,
them going to
no,
the
no,
different
I really
worlds.
liked it. It was just like it was nostalgic.
Yeah.
Um,
Which
I,
is what the movie is.
but I do understand the criticism that everything was just slapped in your face and that the execution was poor, because you could have created these worlds a bit better, or at least you could have integrated these characters a bit more.
If you're looking for somewhere that's not about consumerism, Space Jam is not the place. Look at Space Jam 1. It's just to sell Jordans, right?
Yeah.
Come on, you know?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But that is what this movie is. And there's, again, nothing wrong with that. I wanted to go watch Harry Potter straight after.
I mean, Warner Bros. I think money wise, it did pretty well as well. So
It just, yeah.
LeBron's not going to be complaining too much.
I don't think he will be. I also don't think there'll be a Space Jam 2, let's hope. But, who knows?
You mean
They like to
Space
make
Jam
money.
3? Because
Yeah.
there's already been 2.
Space Jam 2.1 or whatever.
Or Space Jam: A New Legacy 2.
Oh my
I don't know. What would you call it? Space an error correction? I don't know. Or
I really enjoyed afterwards we watched the No Dunks review.
Yeah.
Which is great. But one thing, I can't remember who said it, but when they were going through all the different Warner Brothers universes, it was a little bit like, why are you watching this rubbish when you could be watching like Game of Thrones, you know what I mean?
oh yes, the game. There was the Night King just in the background cheering. Like that stuff. You. I feel like a great fantasy. At least for me, I'd love to see Iron Giant fight. Let's say Iron Man. You know, like that cross, and obviously cross industry stuff. Like company studios probably wouldn't happen. So this wasn't. But what it was also is LeBron. Could look, it's the Looney Tunes. You want them in it, but he already showed us what we're missing. He created a team with Iron Giant in it. Him, I remember King Kong. He showed us this could have been an amazing movie, having all these amazing characters as basketball players against maybe other monsters. Instead, we got the Looney Tunes, which are great as a comic relief, but then it's like, oh, actually, that would be cool. Iron Giant playing basketball would be sick.
It felt to me a bit like Into the Spider-Verse, but like shit and consumeristic. Do you know what I mean?
Cool. Shit is just where we will leave this movie review. Quick question.
Yeah.
So, do you know the IMDb score?
Let's say I have seen it. I'm trying to remember. It was a very long time ago.
What would you give the movie then?
What would I give it? It's hard because it's about know the audience, right? For the audience, it's fine.
For you.
For me, there's not many movies I wouldn't watch again. I'm not very critical of movies, but I'll give it like a 2 out of 10.
Woo. So what's that IMDb then?
I'd say it's like a 4.5.
Okay. And before I reveal, you haven't watched this yet because I will not want to watch it with you. But The Last Airbender, which I have specifically said is my worst movie, what do you think that's rated?
That has to be so low. I think that's probably like the lowest one. I'm going to say like a 2.5.
Cool. So I'll reveal that Space Jam: A New Legacy on IMDb is 4.4. So very close. You're like 0. So you basically got the nail on the head.
I think I have seen it, to be fair.
Well, that's fine. You didn't really remember. Like the movie is something you probably forget. The Last Airbender, the movie, the horrible movie in 3D. For those who wanted to do that. I think I may have watched it in 3D. I can't remember. Rated 4.
Fair.
Rated 4.
Fair. That's not... Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So it's on similar levels of Space Jam, which is really bad for Space Jam.
Yeah, that's not great, is it? That's not great at all.
Should we talk about maybe better movies, better content?
Well, I would say like big blockbuster wise, now people go back to cinema. There's been surprisingly few things on.
Well, they had
know?
Fast 9.
Fast 9? Oh.
I don't know how that's done, but Fast 9.
Well, yeah, we're on our way there. How many fasts are we into? Fast 5?
4? 4 feels right. We're on 5.
So we have been trying to catch up.
Yes.
And watching the No Dunks reviews as we go.
No Dunks has inspired us to watch Fast and Furious. Because it was, and I still think it is the case, we didn't think much of the Fast and Furious franchise before this. I feel like I've changed a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, neither of us had watched any, so that just shows
Watch
our
Hobbs and Shaw.
hypocrisy.
No, but see, we watched Hobbs and Shaw.
was great. I loved Hobbs and Shaw. Not much has lived up to Hobbs and Shaw, which says a lot, because Hobbs and Shaw was like great in a that's a really bad movie kind of way.
Not even Tokyo.
That is the one.
Did that not?
Tokyo Drift is a genuine good movie. And I would watch it again 8 times. I loved it so much. It made me realise why people do love these movies. It can be cringy, it can be ugh, but man, when it's good, it's good.
So, the only thing I knew about Fast and Furious was it's like a superhero movie. It's all about family. And Tokyo Drift is one of the better movies. So I was very excited for it because I watched when we watched the Fast and the Furious, the first movie. I think that's what it's called anyway. I was like, for the first 40 minutes when I was watching, I was like, what's everyone complaining about? This is a great movie. This is an undercover cop trying to, investigate in case. And there's so much sort of depth within these characters. And then that did quickly change. Once I saw the first Corona bottle, I think after the 40 minutes, it did become the Fast and Furious I was expecting. But before that, I actually thought it was quite good.
Yeah.
All talking about this sort of car mechanics. It was quite intellectual.
Okay.
Anyway, back to Tokyo Drift, and I was watching it. I was like, okay, this is meant to do the best. And to be honest, the cars are amazing. The drifting is amazing. If you haven't watched it, spoiler alert, but the guy who died, I can't remember his name.
Paul Walker?
No.
Oh. You mean in the movie?
Yeah.
So, I was you forgot Paul Walker's name?
No.
Han.
He was great. But for me, in a movie where the main character you really dislike, it's very hard for me to enjoy that movie. Particularly his accent was just not great for me. After having Paul Walker, who I'm not saying looks at all, but who's a stunning man.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Walker carries that franchise.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I was missing him. I was missing that. We didn't even have Vin Diesel or something.
That's the thing. Tokyo Drift with Paul Walker, I think would have been great. I think my issue is, and it's taken me about 5 movies to realise this. Technically 6 with Hobbs and Shaw. So I like most of the movies. I like the first half of Tokyo Drift, like you said, before Vin Diesel comes in. Not Tokyo Drift, sorry. The Fast and the Furious. I loved Hobbs and Shaw and I love Tokyo Drift. What do they all have in common?
Don't have Vin Diesel.
No Vin Diesel, man.
So how was number 4 for you?
I can't remember it. That's literally...
You was wrapping presents. Maybe that wasn't... Maybe that didn't help.
Was that the one where the truck rolled over
Yeah.
Is that the one where... I mean, spoilers, obviously. Everything. But is that the one
We're
where...
never going to say spoilers again.
His girlfriend dies?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't remember it. Can't remember. And then I always thought she was alive and then she was dead. It's boring.
I don't think she's dead, but...
But she don't... They didn't... Maybe she comes back. I don't know. It was just... so boring.
To be fair,
I just remember them coming out of the cave at the end. And that's it. I don't remember anything that happened before because it was like the other movies before. It was... Okay, do you know what? No. So, the first 2 movies were so naughties. It was painful. The 4th one tried to regenerate it, right, and make it cool and modern and like
We had none of the characters
serious,
we knew,
right?
which is crazy.
No, in
The
4.
third one. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. In 4, they tried to make it serious, right? They were like, okay, let's forget the legacy. Like, they also called it Fast and Furious again because they wanted to like rebrand, right? And yes, that was better. You know, we didn't have the weird little NOx effects that was happening. I don't know what that was. But it just made it a generic bad movie rather than like a very bad. At least it's a little bit funny movie, you know. Like in the second one, you had the buddy duo with him and the guy from prison. And then this one was just like, oh, it's revenge about some girl who died who we actually don't really know or care about, and oh wait, it's just like, okay, cool, it's just normal. You know, I don't remember anything that happened. Give me an actual storyline, and that's what I liked about Tokyo Drift. There was an actual storyline that I actually cared about. It wasn't, oh, let's do a lot of car races, plus, like, weave some stories in it. And I do think it will get better. I do think 4 was the beginning of that, but 4 just did it in such a boring way. We will see how 5 goes.
Yeah, I think it's only going to get more outrageous, as we saw. I feel like by Hobbs and Shaw, sort of levels, of years, they really honed the craft on knowing, like, you just go crazy and, like, the storylines don't have to be so serious, like you say. So
I think that's the thing. They're trying to get the balance.
So we're going to see the progression. We'll watch 5 soon.
3 was very serious. But it was good.
It was good. No, I really liked it.
Good. 4 was not serious. It was serious, but it wasn't good. It was just boring.
The love interest in number 3, which shocked me, was the girl from Bruno Mars's music video called Just the Way You Are.
Very deep cut.
Well, it's just crazy. It's weird to see it because I think it was before the movie, the video as well. So it's crazy. But enough of Fast and the Furious. Family is important, guys. Always remember that. Hug your mum and dad. They're teaching you life lessons here, and always drive fast.
No, let's not recommend that on this podcast, James.
Okay, always drive slow.
Drive at the speed limit. So, I feel like that's all our trashy movies out of the way with.
Well, I mean, we've always got plenty more, but yeah.
You know, we're better than that on this podcast, James. Are we?
I think you're gonna tell me if we are.
Well, recently we watched In the Mood for Love.
We did.
Which is meant to be an absolute classic, and I loved it.
Yeah, I think it was very interesting. Very interesting.
Very interesting. That's a great word, isn't it, James? I think that means you didn't like it.
No, I actually really liked it. It was in Cantonese, right?
I mean, you should know.
Yes, it was in Cantonese, which is a nice bonus, because I didn't need to read the subtitles. But the subtitles definitely help, because I'm not saying I know every single word, but... And the lead actor was Leung Til-wei, which is one of those actors where... Well, I know sort of Cantonese actors like Andy Lau and various others, but he's one where I don't really know what he does or did. I assume acting, but I know of his name from my parents. It's like one of those where you're like, oh, yes, he is a big name. And this is, I guess, one of his more... one of his earlier roles, potentially, on the mainstream market.
I think for a Western audience, this is kind of where he got known. But yeah, so the reason we kind of went back to this old movie, I say old, it's only 2000s, but obviously it's set.
That's pretty old.
It's set in the 60s. But was because I think next week's going to be our episode on Shang-Chi.
Yeah, we get to watch it.
Yeah.
And he's in it, right?
Exactly, along with a lot, like it's a star-studded cast, isn't it? I mean, who else is in it?
Well, Jung from King Convenience as Shang-Chi. Aquafina.
Of course.
Who else is in it?
I mean, I know you mentioned a couple of names you knew from like...
Oh, yeah, so I don't know their names, but for anyone who's watched Gods of Honor on TVB, Lei Ding, which is the character, the dad of Nata, is... he's in it, and...
Michelle Yeoh's in it. Obviously, the guy from Doctor Strange.
Oh, yeah. Benedict Wong, that's the one. And there's a lot more, lots of Asian actors, which is good to see the representation because you don't always see that many Asian actors in films. Or well, you do, but like it's just nice seeing.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously an important movie, like being like the first Asian
Yeah,
Marvel superhero.
like how Black
basically.
Panther
Exactly,
was massive
exactly,
as well.
yeah.
So
yeah, we thought we'd have a look at Tony Leung. I'm not gonna attempt to say his Chinese name because you said it beautifully.
Leung Wei.
Leung Wei.
That's pretty good.
There you go. Oh gosh.
So, explain more in the mood for love.
Oh,
and what your thoughts basically?
I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. So it's such a like quiet movie. It's basically about these two people, who find out their partners are having an affair. They're neighbours, and the partners are having an affair with each other.
Yes.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't explained that well. And basically they start hanging out and becoming friends, and kind of throughout the movie this slowly builds this like relationship between them. And it's just I can't describe it. It's like when you see a movie so beautiful, it's just like the cinematography, the music, and just the relationship between those two, and like the way you could like feel it, you know.
Yeah, I think describing it as a quiet movie is actually perfect, and not trying to say that in a negative way. What was interesting is because they started to sort of reenact how their partners would like, how they would have initiated the cheating and various activities. They would like pretend they bumped into each other one day and then just say, oh, do you want to go to a hotel room? Like, that doesn't sound great, but obviously in the context of this film, it was interesting to look at how people deal with cheaters, like the denial stage, the anger stage, but also maybe the accepting stage. And it is a well-directed movie, and it did highlight great themes of like people's emotions and how they react, and also just interactions between people in your environment, because why they were next door neighbors, but basically I guess in Hong Kong there's not that much space available, so basically you would rent out a room, or in these complexes it was like two, let's say, flats, but let's say there's 4 rooms in each flat. A couple would rent out a room because there would be a landlord, and that would be your living situation, and you'd eat either together or get very cheap sort of noodles and stuff like that, because it is very cheap, very quick. And so that's the sort of situation where there's like a few families in these 2 sort of flats, and I guess that's how the wife of the wife and the husband met each other and then started cheating. And I guess if ever they want a booty call and they knew each other partners weren't there, they would just kind of go next door. Or okay, no, not it can't be
It was
next door, wasn't it? Okay.
It was very cheeky. But like I think, well, like Wong Kar-wai, the director, is like one of the most famous Hong Kong directors, and the way he makes Hong Kong look in the 60s, I think, was when it's set, is just amazing, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like the little noodle stands and the rain and the heat.
And the smoking, like it added so much character.
It's just so cool. It was like classic Hollywood vibes, but in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
And like there's so many little touches that like you were saying about the movers who had that little cold rag around their shoulders. It's so like Hong Kong. But yeah, I just loved it. Oh yeah, I really liked how we didn't ever see the husband and wife. You know, it was basically just these 2 characters. And I think Maggie Chung, she was great in it, like both of them. I wonder if he can bring it with Shang-Chi. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, based on this performance, depends on, like for Space Jam, it depends on the script he was given in Shang-Chi.
I do feel like you'll prefer Shang-Chi though.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah. What was, because I feel like I love this movie. Like this is now making it into my like
top 5, top 10.
Top 10, I would say, yeah.
No, I really enjoyed it, and I think when you sit down and reevaluate sort of choices made in the movie, you appreciate it so much more. I think I I found it kind of weird how they started to get that romantic connection when initially it was like because of their two partners cheating. And I understand it's because they spent more time together, which is a natural way to, you know, get in a more romantic relationship. But actually them sort of reenacting certain situations was a bit personally weird. It was very weird.
It was really unexpected. You know? I didn't expect it. It was definitely a different movie than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
You know? Especially, spoiler alert, that they don't get together at the end. You never see them kiss, you never see anything in their romance, because then romance never begins. It's all about the love that could be, you know?
But what maybe this is just like thinking out loud here was, I think throughout the movie you wasn't always sure if they would go down the romantic route. Like, I think you felt there was so much connection and it was getting so close to becoming a relationship. I think I would have wanted to stop it maybe two progressive moments before, or one progressive moment, like before they actually like knew they liked each other, type of thing. But then I did really like the choice that they didn't end up being together. But I wanted it more like they just never acted on those actions, and they would have kept it like more of that question of what could have been.
But I think it was, though. I think it was. Because I feel like even before we kind of knew it and before they knew it, you could tell there was something between them, you know? Like, you know, when they're trying to hide the fact that they're... Because basically they don't want to be seen by the landlady because they don't want anyone to talk. It's like, yeah, as much as I agree you don't want to be seen because of people talking, you know there's the intentions behind there as well, you know? As much as you can't say enough about people gossiping and all those kind of social stuff, it's like, there's definitely something there.
No, I think you're right. I think maybe, you know, they did have a good mixture of like how progressive they went in that relationship and then stopped at a good point where then they would have just been in a relationship. I think it just goes back to my point of like the way they started spending time together was just a little weird, you know?
Yeah. It really reminds me of that movie, and I can't remember the name, which is very useful. But you know the movie with... I can't remember anyone's name. Black Widow.
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson.
In Japan.
Cool. It's
Lost in Translation.
Lost in Translation.
It reminded me of that because obviously there's the Asian element, but not really because of that, but it was more like the like loneliness you see with these characters. And then Siri has just decided to talk to me. He's very good at listening, isn't he? But yeah, the loneliness you see between the characters, and it's like these... It's just a picture of two people who want to find something, and they find something in another person, you know?
And that movie just reminded me again, did we think they had, like... So, because I don't think they pursued anything further in Lost in Translation either.
I think they kiss at the end, and that's
it. They kiss. Okay, that's interesting.
I think. But like it's like a goodbye kind of kiss. What could
happen? What could have happened?
Yeah, exactly.
What they might want to happen.
Completely. But yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting movie, and I'd like to see more. You know. Yeah, they do kiss at the end.
With Bill Murray.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very romantic, and I guess that segues well towards the return of Ronaldo to the Premier League, to the Theatre of Dreams.
Well, there you go. That is a story, isn't it?
Yeah, so...
Do you think that will be made into a movie soon?
Knowing Ronaldo, he's going to make a movie of himself for sure.
Space Jam with Ronaldo? Can you see it?
If United somehow win the Premier League...
I can't imagine him being better than LeBron, to be honest. And it's hard to be worse than LeBron, so that's saying a lot. Do you think he's a good actor, Ronaldo?
He's such a narcissist. I think because if he was in a movie, he would play himself, and he plays himself very well.
That's what we thought about
What's
LeBron.
interesting, though,
what happened.
Would you want Ronaldo as your main character? Because...
He won't be a side character, I tell you that.
No, exactly. But as a movie goes, would you root for the... It depends if you do the story, right, of him getting to the Ronaldo stage. Because Ronaldo, as he is now, isn't a protagonist you want to root for. But maybe that's the appeal. I don't know.
Maybe.
But no, big news. Ronaldo came back. It was looking like he was actually joining Man City, but Sir Alex Ferguson was like, "No, you're a Manchester United boy." And money-wise, it works great for the club. It probably isn't what Man United needed, but they do have a talisman. As we say this, they have just lost 1-0, and they had a penalty in I think the 93rd minute. And who took it, Tara? Who took the penalty?
Was it Ronaldo?
No.
Oh.
So there's been a debate, and we'll talk about fantasy football a little bit later, but Bruno Fernandes has been amazing for Man United, and he's been taking penalties. But Ronaldo has come. And what do we know about Ronaldo?
He takes good penalties.
Yes, but also, he's the main man. He has a big ego.
Yeah.
How does he let Bruno Fernandes take the penalties? And potentially it's cost him a point today.
They should let Ronaldo do it then. He's got an ego for a reason.
Exactly.
If you got to pay that money, you know.
But what do you think of the Ronaldo move?
Well, Ronaldo's your favourite footballer ever?
I feel like that stuff may have changed, but he was someone I was always more of a Ronaldo fan over Messi. Let's put it that way.
I think it. See, this is a part of the podcast where I talk bullshit, but I'm just gonna say what I think. I think it spices up the Premier League a little bit. I think it makes me a lot more interested because it's Ronaldo, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. That's my hot take. It's Ronaldo, you know.
No, I mean, I don't know. It makes Man United challengers, but it just makes it a bit more exciting for them.
Does it not make them challengers?
Based on their recent performances as well, a lack of a potential midfielder, no.
But he's been Chelsea playing very well for them in the few games.
Yes, so he
Apart
scored.
From not being able to take this penalty, that wasn't his fault. He wasn't given the chance.
So
give him the chance, James. Give him the chance.
So I think he's played in 4 games, and he's got 4 goals.
There you go.
So great, but I think Man City and Chelsea and Liverpool may have too much for them to win the Premier League. It's romantic, but I don't know if it will have the potential substance. I don't think it's a long-term relationship. Let's put it that way.
How old is Ronaldo?
36, I want to say.
So is
37.
Is this his kind of beginning of the end?
Yes.
So it's, I think, an interesting move to come back. You know? It's more of a legacy aspect then. It's the romantic rather than the, trying to achieve more and get more.
Yeah, well, it's a strange move because, another big news, Messi's joined PSG. That in itself has made PSG the favourites of the Champions League. Messi and Ronaldo are in the GOAT discussion. But Ronaldo's chosen a destination which I think helps him, like you say, with the romantics, the story behind it. But I don't know if it helps him winning trophies, which is an odd move for Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Whereas Messi has gone to a place where PSG, they just won the league anyway, but now are the favourites of the Champions League. So I'd like to see how many. I think he's going to score so many goals, but I just don't know it's the best move for him. Getting more accolades, winning more Ballon d'Ors, which is a award which says you're the best player in the world, which isn't always the case. There is a lot of politics behind it, but
maybe he wants a quieter life. You know?
Well, he's not going to get that at Man United.
Retire to the Manchester countryside, you know. Have a little cottage.
I mean, he's going to be worshipped there.
I know. But that's the thing. But yeah, maybe he's gone to a smaller pond to be more appreciated rather than to be constantly compared to Messi and whatever.
I don't think those comparisons will ever end. But
I do think Premier League is the place to be, though. You know?
It's true.
Okay, this is outside of point of view. I think there's a lot more interest in the Spanish leagues, Italian leagues, etc. But there's something about the Premier League that is just
it's the biggest. It's the biggest league in the world. There was no rivalry before. When you add Ronaldo, when you add Lukaku, all the big names are going to the league. It's got the most money as well. That's an undeniable factor that attracts these players. Best managers,
Best teams? You know, you got Arsenal.
And they say you're not funny.
But speaking of, tomorrow is the derby?
Yes, the North London derby.
Oh.
And
how often does this happen, by the way? Because I feel like it's...
So, okay. So let's give you some trivia. How many games does a team play in the Premier League in a season?
Okay, so they have to play everyone once, right?
Yes.
So there's like... Okay, how many teams in Premier League? I'm going to say there's 24?
No.
23? 22? 21? 10?
20.
20, okay. So close. So close. So 20, okay. Now this is just, did Maths. I do well in my degree? Yeah. So 19?
Yes, so they have 19 opponents.
And then, so each plays 19, so then you have to do like a to the power of, right?
So let's put it this way. If you play a team home and away, how does that work?
Home and away. I don't know how many games.
Cool. So you play each team twice.
Yeah.
So if there's 19 teams, you times that by 2. So how many games will they play in?
38?
Perfect. Exactly.
38.
So asking that, there are 2 North London derbies each year in the league. So they play each other twice.
Nice.
Home and away at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and...
So is this one at Emirates or...?
At the Emirates.
Ooh, mad.
Yeah. And I guess to give a little sort of background on how the teams have been doing, Spurs actually surprisingly won 3 games in a row at the start of the season. But
is that surprising? They've got good players. Like, I know it's surprising to you as an Arsenal fan, but is it actually surprising?
It is.
Taking away your biases.
It is actually surprising because it was...
I feel like they're consistently top 5.
Well, I think they finished...
Top 7, let's say top 7.
Cool, fine. Well, why it's surprising is because they had the drama of whether Harry Kane would be leaving.
Mm.
Their first game was against Man City. Did they win?
Yes.
Exactly. That is surprising, right? And actually looking at the underlying numbers, they're... Even though they kept 3 clean sheets, actually they potentially should have conceded more.
Mm.
So I think they have been a bit lucky. And like last week, again, I guess it was Chelsea, but they lost 3-0. Chelsea, they started well, but Chelsea did basically taught them a lesson. But all in all, new manager as well. Nuno Espirito Santo.
Where was he before? Do you know?
At Wolves.
Ah.
And he's a good manager, but also maybe not sort of the progressive type you'd want. Like, he's not the new Pep Guardiola, for example. So Spurs are not in the best place right now, but also Arsenal aren't either. Spurs at least won the 3 games, their first 3 games. Arsenal lost the first 3 games. We've since won 2 in a row, 1-0 each, so 1-0 to the Arsenal.
There you go.
But
I think the derby's in a way, like, isolated from all of that sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because in those type of games, you have those extra motivating factors. It's something, like when you say there's a culture within a team, everybody knows this is one of the biggest games in your season because you want the bragging rights. That gives you so much more reason to win. Like, for example, if you're playing badly, this motivates you to sort of like, you don't need sort of motivation to play this game.
And is this the first derby with a crowd, with an audience, since lockdown?
I'm not entirely... There might have been a crowd from the last, but I think this has been the first time, like, a packed crowd.
Mm.
This is going to be...
No restrictions.
Exactly. So it's going to be exciting. It's on 4:30 tomorrow. I mean, honestly, I have a good feeling. Feeling.
I mean, it's at home.
I've got to back your boys.
It's at home.
Do you not have a good feeling? What do you think the score will be, Tara?
I think it'll be 5-0 to Arsenal, James.
That's fantastic. I love that confidence. I'm going to be more...
I predicted Italy, right? So...
Okay, honestly, if you call it now, we should put maybe a little bet in.
5-0!
Great odds.
Okay.
No, you said
I
5-0. Back it.
predict-
No. And I would say a more modest 2-1 to the Arsenal.
I was about to say, I was going to say 2-1. I
So
feel like
Torres says
that's your
5-0,
classic.
I say 2-1.
I hope it's a 2-1. You want a good scoring game. A 0-0 to start off would just be a bit sad.
Speaking of sad, fantasy football. I'll give you an update on my team. I've got the Lukaku's, got the Ronaldo's, got the Salah. I know I'm bragging a little bit here.
I mean,
but
impressive.
the big hitters have not been hitting.
Oh, no.
I just captained Ronaldo. He didn't even get given the penalty. He didn't get given the penalty. He would have scored it, I tell you. It wouldn't have been saved or either missed. Actually, no, I heard it missed. Like Bruno Fernandes
by
just
a mile, I think.
guided it.
Yeah.
Oh. But so I captained Ronaldo. He obviously didn't score and didn't get a chance to score, and not bitter at all. And then got Lukaku, who just played City, and City actually just taught Chelsea a lesson. So I think the narrative of the season has been...
he did score, right?
He did score,
But
but
it
it
was
was offside. So
it's a sad day. Day.
But what's been interesting is I think there's been a narrative, or the early talk is Chelsea are amazing, and Man City, they couldn't get Harry Kane. Chelsea got Lukaku. Chelsea looking really good, and City just drew against Southampton going into this game before the League Cup, but in the Prem, and everybody's just, I guess, viewing it as it's Chelsea's to lose, or Chelsea's looking like
the end of City?
favourite.
Do you reckon?
Not at all. I mean, Chelsea just Man City won the game as well, and really they deserved it as well, and probably should have won by 2 to 3-0 against Chelsea. Still early in the season, I think Chelsea will win the league, but I think Pep Guardiola is just the best, to be honest. That gets thrown around a lot, but he's a great manager.
What do you think of... Has there been a United Chelsea game?
No, not yet.
Would that be interesting to see Ronaldo against your favourites?
I think Chelsea would beat him easy. Yeah. To be honest,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to see that game. But yeah, so hopefully next week fantasy we'll see a bit more. Are you looking to take off anyone?
I mean, if Ronaldo's on pens, he might have to go, to be honest.
But surely after that they're going to put him back on.
It's true. I'll see how it goes, because I like having the 3 big hitters. It feels nice, but that's a lot of money in your team that you could go somewhere else if they're not scoring. But I'll see how the next few weeks go. But moving on to tennis news, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not stuff we've spoken about too much. Anytime we've spoken about tennis, it's more about the dissatisfaction of Djokovic, which we'll mention him in a little bit. But
will we now? Yeah, I mean, we both enjoy tennis a little bit.
Yeah, no. I mean, I for sure enjoy it.
I'm a Federer fan, you're a Nadal fan.
Yeah.
But, we've never really been able to root for the UK. I mean, apart from, bless him,
Andy Murray.
I forgot his name. Andy Murray, who, it's a whole thing of he's British when he wins and Scottish when he loses, isn't it?
So he's definitely Scottish now, isn't he?
But our gal Emma from London, from Ends,
she won the US Open.
US Open, incredible. 18, coming in. Wow. I think she's 22 now in the world.
Really? I don't know.
Coming in from absolutely nothing.
That's great.
Insane.
What was you doing at 18?
Oh gosh, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
A-levels? Uni? Freshers? Oh my god, it'll be fresh. I mean, Freshers Week. Enjoy Freshers, everyone who's a uni lad student.
Probably waiting in line for Ministry of Sound or something.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Let's not.
Especially during these times. Imagine the fear of COVID. I guess is a bit exciting. Oh, have you got COVID? Yeah, no. Double jab? Oh.
Gosh, no. I'm just glad to stay home, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's been a blessing. But yeah.
No, it's
amazing.
Great news. Yeah.
Amazing news. I'm excited to see. I think she's going to go far.
Success gone to her head, maybe?
I don't think so.
Firing her coach?
Yeah. Okay. Weird Well, not weird take, hot take. I don't think that would have been a big deal if he was a man.
I disagree. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it would have been a strong move. It would have been like, yeah, that's confident, that's assertive.
Yeah.
Rather than, big fur boots, you know?
Just for the record, I'm more on your side of, because...
yeah, I'm not calling you out, James, I just said.
No, but I think you're right, because I guess before this tournament, I mean, at least for myself, I didn't know her.
Yeah.
But now it makes sense, like, of her profile, she has more opportunity. It's like a job, right?
Yeah.
If you do so well in your job, you can then get promoted. That doesn't mean, like, you're big-headed or anything, but it's just you deserve, you know, a better quality of service, basically.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's also, like, it makes sense to go with someone who knows basically what they're doing, because the coach she had before had never played on that level, right?
Yeah.
So they don't know, and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different scenario.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, that's interesting to see. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of back when we began the podcast. Was our first movie Wimbledon? No, I think it was our second one. It was one of our early ones when the podcast was in its heyday. You know, when we actually did our segments and everything.
Well, we're battle veterans now. On our 6th episode, we are like seasoned podcasters now.
6 episodes, what, in a year?
Yeah, that's one every 2 months.
But, yeah, so how about the movie that we watched for this podcast, James? How did that go?
Yeah, so remind me again what that movie was.
I've actually just forgotten.
The Hoosiers, I believe.
The Hoosiers! That was it. What did we think of the Hoosiers, James?
It was not watched.
It was not watched. We had about 2 months to watch it, and what did we do? We didn't watch it.
It was so off-putting. We just decided not to do the podcast. That is one of the reasons. It's like,
it really, really is.
Oh, we didn't watch this movie, so we could do the podcast.
Every time we want to do it, we're like, oh yeah, but we didn't watch the movie first. We will watch it. It will happen. But I don't know. Look, okay. Now we turn to you, our listeners, who there are numerous of.
Yeah.
Not just the one.
Numerous being, you are a number.
The number is larger than 0, maybe.
Sometimes.
So yeah, I think, you know, let us know if this is not what you think is good. But I think it would be good to have a separate thing where we do sports movies, because I think it's great. I'm really excited to always watch these. I want to actually give it a proper review. I think actually to do that, you kind of need more than like 5 minutes in the segment, you know? Yeah. And I think that could be a separate thing all on its own.
Yeah.
For us to do. And it also means that if we don't want to do it, or if we forget, or if it gets delayed, we don't have to delay the podcast, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to do that. And if you don't like it, let us know.
Yeah, so I think that's a good plan moving forward. Also, just back on the tennis part, Djokovic obviously is now tired of Nadal and Federer on 20 Grand Slams, and I don't want to hell at someone's defeats, but I was very happy he could not get to 21. I can't remember who beat him, but yeah, it was Grand Slam final in the US Open final. When Emma could win, Djokovic could not.
Hell yeah. That's what we love to see.
I think that's a great end to the podcast.
Yes, it is. Thank you for listening.
Have a great weekend, if it's a weekend for you. I don't know. It's been a while. We're still trying to get into it.
It's been a while. But you know what? Stay tuned, because you know what? You never know when we're going to release it, isn't it? It's kind of a nice surprise, you know? If you're never consistent, you're always a surprise.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Signing out. I don't know. Laters.